Hey there, and welcome to Well, the podcast discussing everything wellness and the world around us. Today, we are joined by Beth Bishop, owner of the Phoenix Effect LA, and we are going to be talking about wellness and burnout. We have found that all of our consumers, business owners, and our teams are struggling with this. And I wanted to have a conversation with one of the industry's best experts on the nervous system and how movement and intention can help us all find a little bit of ease. Hi, Beth. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. We are thrilled to have you, mostly because you are just such an inspiration to your community, but also you've done some pretty amazing things in your life. And I'm just going to take a minute to brag about you, let you blush a little bit. We're doing video too for those of you just listening. So I'm going to make her blush. Beth is the owner of the Phoenix Effect, which is a premier fitness, coaching, nutrition, just life enhancement studio in Los Angeles. She's a speaker, she is a coach, and she works with people on everything, people in the corporate world to high performers to everything in between. And I and my team have been lucky enough actually to work with her. She's done some amazing coaching around overwhelm for my team here at Walla. And I'm just honored that you were able to join us today. So I'd love to kick off by just asking you about what led you to starting the Phoenix Effect and really diving into this world of coaching performers, corporate employees, and anybody that really needs it to work around burnout and overwhelm.
Amazing. Well, thank you once again for having me. How did I get into this? Well, I realized pretty early on that your body is the vehicle for having a joyous and harmonious and successful life. So if we're at war with our body, we are not going to have the most amazing careers. We're not going to have the most amazing relationships. We're not going to have the most amazing lives that we can have. And so early on, I was a personal trainer and ended up opening up a strength and conditioning studio, which became the Phoenix Effect. And that was really cool and really exciting. We saw a lot of amazing shifts in people. But as far as like the mindset and the overwhelm and the burnout and the nervous system regulation, that came about because I was my first patient.
I think a lot of us are.
Yeah, there came a time where I had not known that much about business, and I had, some business partners that, weren't the greatest business partners, and I made mistakes, and I ended up being very, very burnt out, very, very, very in debt, and very anxious and very depressed. I had gone to traditional therapy, kind of helped. I'd tried, SSRIs to get out of my depression, lots of traditional strategies, and nothing really helped me. I just felt kind of numb. And so I started getting more into somatic work and nervous system regulation and really working on my mindset. And that's what really started to shift things for me. I realized that a lot of people in the fitness industry as well were stressed and overwhelmed and burnt out. I saw a lot of people growing up, even in the medical community. My dad is a surgeon at the Mayo Clinic, just constantly burnt out, tired, struggling. And I realized that there's really more work that needed to be done in this area. Okay. So that's why I went into the coaching and speaking on this.
Yeah, I've watched you on stage. You're pretty incredible up there, really inspiring. And you can tell you've lived it. I think that's really the difference between a lot of coaches or a lot of speakers who are trying to share a message. You can tell it's coming from an authentic place with you. There was a study that came out this past year. Lululemon did a global wellness report. And one of the kind of headline-catching, eye-popping findings was that wellness consumers, so those are the people coming in our doors at our studios, really dipping their toe into all of these different modalities, are feeling more overwhelmed than ever. There's a lot of information coming at them. And even now, you just mentioned somatics and mindset and the physical side of things. So we have a lot of options out there. Can you speak a little bit to why in particular there's science backing that we actually are burned out and need something to help us recover before we can kind of ourselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we get into this decision fatigue and we can't think clearly when we are dysregulated. If you want to move forward in life, there's basically two states of being. You're either regulated or you're dysregulated. You can't be regulated and dysregulated at the same time, right? When we're dysregulated, we get a lot of feedback that things don't feel good. It's like having a smoke alarm going off and saying, hey, your house is on fire. When we're regulated, we can actually move forward and we can think clearly. Think about the last time you were stressed and you had to solve a problem and you're like trying to push your way through it and it doesn't happen, right? And so if we want to be able to get into a harmonious relationship with our body and our nervous system, we have to learn how to regulate. We can't go into like figuring out, should I take an ice bath? Should I not take an ice bath? Is this bad? Is this food bad? Is this food good? Is this exercise good? Is this bad? It's like the answer is yes and no. The answer is there's something for everyone and nobody is the same. Right. But one thing I do know is that everybody needs to regulate their nervous system, period.
Well, I was reading some of your research and before we went into this chat, and one thing that really interests me and stood out, just thinking about increased cortisol, stress, kind of fire us up. You mentioned something about how sitting impacts your cortisol levels actually, and how movement has this amazing effect to counter that. So can you talk through those details?
Oh my gosh, yes. There is so much interesting research out right now about movement as medicine. And I don't mean working out 6 days a week for half an hour or an hour or anything like that. Really, the power is in 5-minute intervals. We also get into this mode of all or nothing. More is the best. We have to go, 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 go. And what really the consumer needs is to do less and start with the basics. If you sit for 1 hour a day, just one, so many interesting things happen to your body. Your mental cognition slows down, right? Because you're not able to process. You're actually getting reduced blood flow to your head. There's a study done at the University of Illinois in 2016 that showed a 15% decline in mental performance after just sitting for about an hour, which is crazy, right? And the only thing that you have to do to switch that is to just literally stand up for an hour. That is not stand up for an hour, sorry. Stand up for 5 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
Walk around. You can do a couple squats. Your dopamine goes down after 4 hours of continuous sitting by 18%. Dopamine being how happy you are, how motivated you are. Your cortisol increases by 15% after sitting just slouched for an hour.
Wow.
Your testosterone decreases by 23%. And that was a study done at Columbia University in 2017. So even if we're just working and we're sitting in a position of just like low energy and sadness, that's what it's telling your body to do.
Wow. So that's contributing to this problem of burnout that we're all experiencing. And it sounds like a pretty damn simple solution.
But it really is.
I will say, I've felt it personally. My husband actually gifted me a walking pad for Christmas. I swear I get more done in an hour walking on that thing than I do in 8 hours working, sometimes sitting in my chair. So I've felt the impacts of it. So when you think about the Phoenix effect and how you are doing challenging training at that studio, tell me how you communicate with your consumers and also your staff to make sure that they're communicating this message of you don't have to do everything. Because I think it's counterintuitive as a business owner. You want them to do more. You want them to do more. You want them to spend more money with you. Where's the balance with that?
When people first come into our studio, we meet with them and we give them a prescription to get them from point A to point B in their goals. One of the practices that we do is set bare minimums and celebrate the bare minimum.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think in the fitness community, there's been so many of these like 6-week hardcore, 75 hard challenge, push it raw type things. And actually we see the most success as starting out small. 3 hours a week is only 1.8% of your week.
That's wild.
right? And you can get tremendous results at our studio with just 3 workouts a week. But I think the consumer going in thinks, oh my gosh, I have to be uncomfortable. I'm going to be in a room full of all these new people. I'm going to look stupid. I don't even have the time for this. But in reality, if you can learn to be gentle with yourself, if you can change what you're doing for 1.8% of the time and hit those minimums, and then if you want to do more, you can, that's great. And then the other thing that we like to do is we like to pre-frame things. We say, look, you're going to feel resistance. You're going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to be an adjustment. And here's what you can expect along the way. And we provide a little roadmap as you go. This first month, all you're going to do is be consistent. That's all you have to do. That's the win. You don't have to restructure your entire diet and come 6 days a week. We start small and then you build on that slowly. I think that's the win there. I think that's what I would like to see more fitness businesses do things like that. Celebrate starting small instead of starting hardcore right off the gate.
Right. The number of 3-day challenges and, do everything from the get-go out there it's pretty staggering. And you're right. I think a lot of people end up feeling like a failure pretty quickly in that model. One thing that you said that interested me was really that burnout isn't really overwork. It's under recovery. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think we have this MO as a society that we go hard, work hard, play hard, then we take a vacation. We just got to push. But in reality, if you just take little mini vacations, like a 2-minute vacation during the day. I have a breath that I love to do actually called the physiological sigh. It is 2 inhales through the nose and an exhale through the mouth. And if you do that for just 2 minutes, it's like the equivalent of meditating for 30 minutes. It has that powerful of effect on your parasympathetic nervous system, makes you calm down. So I think sometimes we forget that we can take these little breaks throughout the day.
Yeah. Especially with that mindset of what you said earlier, that we're actually, by sitting, our brains are actually not functioning at their highest and best. And so these breaks are actually bettering our work product. And, I think there's a lot of fear around not being productive in today's society and making the most of every minute, right?
But what we don't realize is that trying to sit and grind through something, we're actually rendering ourselves less intelligent, less motivated, less confident. It's actually working against us. So we have to kind of counteract those norms with the actual research that is coming out.
Interesting. So to all of us out there, this is making us not as productive, right? And as we were mentioning, I think it's just productivity has become this prize, right? That's the trophy that we all can hold up. And I will say, I think part of it for those of you that are working in the fitness and wellness industry, either owning studios, working as a trainer, a teacher, you have to make the most of those hours because you can't train people in the middle of the night. I always laugh. Running a tech company, I can have people working all around the world, right? Work different hours, and you're not really focused on the 8 hours of the day or the 10 hours of the day that a fitness studio really has. You have to capture that time with your clients. So what do you do for your team? How do you help them stay in this, state of regulation that you're trying to promote?
I think you get to really plan your life first and foremost. So whenever I get somebody new on the team, and this is actually something that we do periodically throughout the year, is I ask everybody on my team, what kind of experiences do you want to have? Not what goals you want to achieve, but what do you actually want to experience this year? What would actually light your heart on fire? What would be so fun? What would spark your curiosity? What would make you want to grow? Yeah. So when we take that, then I have them brainstorm, okay, based on the experiences you want to have, how do you need to grow? And sometimes the ways that we need to grow are actually taking more recovery, scheduling out time for breaks. I make everybody make sure that they have at least one full day off. We teach time blocking. I don't want anybody doing more than 5 PT sessions in a day. I need them to be on and focused for their clients. That was never given to me when I was a trainer. I had to find it out the hard way, where I'd go 4, 5, 6, 7 sessions, and I would be hoping my clients would come late so I could go pee,
Sure.
and it doesn't have to be that way. So we teach that from the get-go. You have to be a human first and foremost. If you don't take care of your body, you're not going to be embodied, and you are not going to be as good of a coach. It's like when you get on the airplane and they say, put your oxygen mask on first before you assist others. That's a fundamental part about being a successful fitness professional.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. One of my questions I was going to ask you is how you feel that you're different from other leaders in the industry. And I think you just answered it right there. It's so incredible to hear that there are, people out there preaching that, because you certainly see the opposite end of the spectrum. I imagine you retain staff pretty well. How's your team doing these days?
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky to, keep people for, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 even years, which is great. But I think that it's a holistic approach. I've been part of other organizations that treat you like a number, and they just want you to produce. And yes, I want my business to make money, but I know that personal trainers have a short shelf life and they will give up pretty quick. And I want to be training people to be the next leaders of the fitness industry. I think that's the shift, not just viewing my employees as these workhorses, but how can we actually deepen our impact? How can we actually move the needle for people?
Yeah. Well, it might be that, but kind of thinking about our industry today and just globally how we've exploded. I mean, boutique fitness, the fitness industry in general, which we all think of as this amazing thing. Hopefully, we are getting more and more people to start moving their bodies and consider their wellness. But is there anything kind of driving you crazy about the wellness world right now? If you could just hop on a soapbox and say, this is something I wish we could all think or consider.
Yeah. Well, I actually don't think we're doing a good job as an industry. What was the IRSA stat? 89% of Americans don't have a gym membership?
Yeah, it's around 80. Yeah.
80. Yeah, even so, even if it was only, if it was 50, I would say that we're doing a terrible job.
Yeah.
I think we continue to serve the people who have good habits already built. It's been a part of their life. Occasionally we get some people and we make some shifts, but the fitness industry is not catered to the average American who feels really overwhelmed. They don't feel like they're athletic. They feel like they're uncoordinated. They don't feel like there is a spot for them. And not only that, I think people, as they get into their late 20s and 30s, just kind of accept that they're on the decline, and it doesn't even have to be like that. I'm stronger at 40 than I was at 30.
That's amazing. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a discussion we tend to fall into often. Okay, great. We keep shuffling this 20% of the population from business to business, fitness to fitness practice. And it's not that the other 80% never try. I think that's the problem. They try and they feel like failures. And so they just walk right back out the door. Tell me how you approach, when you think about kind of the average person walking in who maybe has all those feelings that you are discussing, like they don't feel athletic, they don't feel like they belong. I know you mentioned that you do the one-on-one coaching. What's the accountability like for those people to keep them coming?
I think the first thing that you need to do with anyone like that is you need to celebrate them the second that they walk in the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. Celebrate them for their bravery, the courage that it took to put their name on the website, to even show up to the appointment takes tremendous courage. So when someone even comes in for their first class, we have a whole procedure that we do as a team. We welcome them. We make sure that we put them with existing members who are really awesome. So you don't have that new kid at school and it's lunchtime and you don't have a table you're going to sit at, kind of feeling. You have to really take into account that emotional aspect where people need to feel safe. Safety is very important. It's important for your nervous system. It's important for growing a high-performing team. It's important for growing a high-performing business. You need to make everybody feel safe, period, and welcome. So that's step number one. And then, as far as things that we do for accountability, we do monthly workshops, things like that. And we actually have our signature program has a coaching one-on-one aspect that's a little bit more expensive than the regular membership, but it's only maybe $4 a day more. But they get to meet with that coach every other week. And then we also have built out an app where people are working on specific daily habits, no more than 3. Weekly check-ins, things like that. You have to take care of the other 165 hours that people aren't at the studio.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's when they make the decisions. That's when life gets in the way. And I find that we often spend so much time talking about our own programming and why we're so great, and we forget to address what's happening outside of our 4 walls. So I really love that. Let's circle back to the nervous system. You started out the conversation talking about that we can't be regulated and deregulated at the time. But can you tell us a little bit more about the science of the nervous system and just some strategies? Because I think all of us, discussing, thinking about this, listening, I'm sure love some strategies to figure out how to take themselves out of that kind of deregulated.
Yeah. Okay. Well, dysregulation will refer to your dorsal vagal system. That's your freeze. That's where you feel just, I can't even move. I'm so burnt out. I'm just shut down. I'm just numb. That's one. And then you have your sympathetic nervous system, right? Which is your fight or flight system. That's where you're agitated, you're anxious. It tends to be a higher energy state. We can do balancing exercises that take, 2 to 3 minutes to shift out of a state. Now, depending on if you're more of a high energy person, or maybe you're having a more high energy emotion like anger, for example, you might need to do an exercise that's a little bit more intense. Like when I'm anxious, I don't sit there and just be like, oh, you're anxious, like blah, blah. I actually feel like I need to shake my body and move and things like that. So some simple strategies that you can do to regulate. We talked about one of them, which is the physiological sigh. So inhale, exhale. Inhales through the nose, exhale through the mouth.
Okay.
You can just set your timer for 2 to 5 minutes and do it and just focus on the breath. It's really, really grounding. When I'm really just kind of feeling like, oh, I will actually physically stand up and shake my body a little bit and tap my body. Sometimes I'll even do some squats. It doesn't really have to be that difficult, but you can check to see. Here's a really cool thing. You can actually do a test to see if this is going to help your nervous system or not, whatever exercise. So what you do is you turn to the right and you look at, see just how far you can see without straining your eyes. And then you look to the left, and then you check, okay, remember those spots. And then you try out the exercise.
Or if
you tap or do some breaths. Sometimes I will if I really need something, I will pick up a pillow and I'll slam it down and I'll scream a little bit. And then once you finish that, you go and check your range of motion of your vision. Okay. So if you can see more, if it's increased, it's actually calmed you down.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And if it's about the same or it's less, it's not a good exercise for you. Because remember, every body is different.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the physiological side. That's probably my most favorite one. Mm-hmm. I would start with that one. And then also, here's one really cool thing about nervous system regulation exercises. Once you find one that works, you don't have to switch it up. It's not like a strength training program.
Cool.
So the more you use it, the faster it works and the better it works.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. About 95% of my clients find the physiological side to be the best.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Efficacy stays. It, in fact, gets better the more
better the more that you do it. And it doesn't have to be complicated. I think we tend to think, oh, if something's not complicated, then it must not work. It's too good to be true, but it's actually not.
Yeah.
Taking a 15-minute break every now and then throughout the day, or 5 minutes to do a little balancing exercises makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I mean, I know a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs in this industry, and they are just, I mean, constant fires. You and I both know.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Literal.
Your time is not always yours. So the fact that we can do this in 2 to 5 minutes just feels so much more manageable and achievable. So I love that. So what are you up to these days? How can people find you and really get involved in your services if they're not already in LA and physically able to come check out your studio space?
Oh, well, the good news is that we have made our coaching available online everywhere. So that really cool app that I was talking about, that you can do, and you can get a coach anywhere you like. So go to our website, phoenixeffectla.com. If you want to reach out to me, I love to connect with people. Find me on LinkedIn, Beth Bishop, or find me on Instagram, the Beth Bishop, THEE, like Megan Thee Stallion.
Oh, I like
of
it.
course, as one does.
Oh, perfect. Okay. And truly, for any of you out there listening that are looking to do something special for your teams, I mean, it really is a gift to teach the people that you care about most and the people who are representing your brand how to take care of themselves. And Beth does a tremendous job helping just the strategies to work with your nervous system and to, I mean, selfishly, you end up getting the best out of them, but also for them, they get the best out of themselves. And I love, Beth, one of the things I've heard you say, just talking about your purpose, is that you want to help people find their greatness and really feel at home in their bodies. And I think that's an amazing gift to give a team. So, well, one of our fun things we do towards the end is just play around with a spin the question wheel and give you a little fun at the end to see if we can get to know you a little better. So I am going to spin the question wheel right now, and it is going. And today, you got, what is your favorite playlist? What's on your Spotify these days?
Ooh, well, I am a huge EDM fan.
Oh, okay.
So I've been listening to a lot of Eli Brown and Nora En Pure and John Summit, and
I've got
I just love it.
Okay, awesome. Well, I imagine actually EDM is probably like the dancing to that is probably the best nervous system release ever.
Oh yeah, dance is actually one of the best ways you can regulate your nervous system.
Oh, I love. Perfect.
Everybody needs to go out and go dancing.
Yes, that is a perfect way to wrap this up. Oh, well, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. It's been such a pleasure, and I hope all of you out there listening take some time to find Beth and really explore what she's up to and hopefully share it with your team. So thanks again.
Thank you so much.